On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite our newest alumnus, Dr. John Kelton, to address Convocation.
Mr. Chancellor, Jack Cowan, my friend, longtime mentor, President, Vice Chancellor Amit Chakma, honored guests, but most of all, graduates from Western University, class of 2018. Nice ring. I'm honored to be invited to participate in this important milestone of your lives. This is your graduation, but it's sort of a homecoming for me. 45 years ago, this exact month, this exact auditorium, I think I sat exactly there in a lucky chair. My mom, my dad, my soon-to-be wife Kathleen attended my graduation, and I heard the honorary degree recipient deliver just possibly the single greatest convocation speech of modern times. Or maybe not. I can't remember. I can't remember a thing. I do think I was daydreaming about my hair, which was long enough to have allowed me to have a man bun, if only they had been invented back then. But my hair and I were ready to take on the world, just like you are. Today, my hair and I can only acknowledge much of what I've achieved in the past 45 years since graduating from Western is rooted in Western. This morning, I return to humbly accept this great honor. Thank you. A few weeks ago, I was thinking, what would I say to you today? I needed a theme. What would I say to dear longtime friends, Paul Cooper, Dwight Moulin, two eminent neurologists? What deep thoughts would I explore near where Michael Strong, one of Canada's top brain experts? What penetrating insights would I share with Vice President John Capone, whose studies of brain chemistry done years ago at Mac remain widely quoted? What about in front of one of Ontario's great innovators, Cal Stiller? What would I talk about mostly in front of a room of newly minted graduates, brainiacs? From a school that Dr. Chakma unabashedly celebrates intellectual excellence and has made me so very proud. I know, I'll talk about brains. A few years ago, I was visiting my mom and dad in Leamington. At that time, my dad was 100, my mom was 98. Graduates, longevity is in large measure hereditary, so choose your parents carefully. We went for a drive and stopped at the lake. Our vantage point allowed us to see a bald eagle, unmistakably in the tree above the water. My dad did what dads do, in fact, what all men do, offered some useless trivia. At 2 kilometers, an eagle can distinguish a dime from a quarter. That got me thinking, can birds really see that well? And maybe more importantly, why would an eagle want to know the difference between a dime and a quarter? I looked it up. It turns out it was true. All birds, especially birds of prey, have exceptional vision, many, many times more acute than ours. They have deep fovea, densely arranged cones circling a macula. Most of all, their optic lobes have filled the brain, crowding out other components, literally producing a bird brain. Another memory. A couple years ago, I was walking my dogs down our street in Dundas. It was dark, quiet, foggy. Suddenly, both dogs, almost as one, lifted their noses, inhaled, and began barking furiously. Only then did the fog part enough for me to see 2 blocks away, deer bolting into the brush. Since I've learned that a dog can smell thousands of times more acutely than human, they can distinguish, separate, analyze molecules across a cribriform plate with olfactory turbinates at a part per billion. Their olfactory ability is second to none. So eagles can really see. Dogs can really smell. Much, much better than we can. In those millions of years of random but seemingly purposeful genetic sorting that brought you graduates here today, we humans downgraded our olfactory lobes, our cortical, our occipital lobes, but in return, we received the most marvelous collection of crisscrossing neurons called the frontal cortex. Genetically, we had to give to get, but what a fabulous trade. Today, if it was possible, I could reach up and touch that tiny part of my brain that is allowing me to read this speech this minute. A different part of my brain allows me to speak. But I couldn't touch. Not one of us could touch the part of the brain that defines our unique human attributes. And at the pinnacle of these special human attributes are feelings. Feelings of compassion, empathy, and perhaps the most complex one of all, kindness. These are the connective tissues of our families, our friends, and our communities. These capacities are uniquely ours, uniquely human. It's the spider web that connects us all. These are early but complex innate traits. We've got a beautiful granddaughter. In fact, we've got 3 beautiful granddaughters. By age 2, if she saw her mom cry, she'll hug her for comfort. By age 3 or 4, if she sees her mother sad, she'll hug her, and then she'll do something incredibly complex. She will hand her mom her favorite toy. This incredibly complex, innate, yet learned act of kindness is seen in no other species. Just us, just you. It requires perception, processing, and action, and the neurons across the entire prefrontal sections of the brain are lit up and activated. Graduates, an important day for you. You've graduated from one of Canada's top universities. I am so grateful to have done it ahead of you. Several years ago, I read a wonderful book by David Brooks entitled The Road to Character. Brooks took a long viewpoint of all of our lives. I'm towards the end, you're towards the beginning. He talked about 2 traits, your resume virtues and your eulogy virtues. Today's a very important day for your resume, maybe the most important. But even this great accomplishment that you've achieved today cannot and should not define you. Your eulogy will be all about your character, less about your achievements. The accounting of your life should be about empathy, your compassion, your kindness. Sometimes we're not always kind. A few years ago, I was leaving my clinic after a routine day and I was tired. I stepped into the elevator and I was thinking about unimportant, routine things. I can't remember what I was thinking about. Already in the elevator were 3 people. On the stretcher was a middle-aged woman on her way to surgery. Gowned, capped. At her foot and head stood a nurse and a medical student. The 2 of them were engaged in an enthusiastic conversation about a TV show I can hardly remember, but I think it was The Bachelor. As the elevator stopped on the surgery floor, for the first time, I looked at the patient. I looked at the woman. I had to look down at her. She was on a stretcher. I was standing. For me, it had been like she hadn't been there. She wasn't there at all. I was literally and figuratively well above her. I noticed she was staring intensely, which in her case meant she was staring straight up. They rolled her out the door towards the OR. And as the elevator continued downward, I was the only one, so I looked up to see what she'd seen. Above me was a yellowing plastic grill and a dusty light, a fan beside it choked with cobwebs. Her pre-surgery experience was hearing about bachelor chatter and a dirty elevator. She would have been anxious and worried. And as I thought about it, I realized this was an opportunity lost. I wished I had noticed her. I wished I had thought about her situation sooner. I wish I had not been self-centered. I wished, maybe more than anything, I had spoken with her. I wished that I had been kind. It would have taken almost nothing from me. It would have taken some effort, a moment or two, but it might have meant something to her. Graduates, I've learned that sometimes in moments, especially in moments of inattention, kindness can become heavy lifting. But there's always an opportunity for kindness, always. How long does it take to say a kind word or make a reassuring gesture, especially at times that we're living in today? Passing up opportunities to be kind will lay bricks of regret that will stay in your lives. It probably is true, as many scientists, especially neurocognitive scientists, believe, that we can develop our minds, our attitudes, our kindness by working it like a muscle. But that also means that kindness can atrophy like a muscle. Like the Fitbit reminds us to walk or run, we need cues to activate our kindness. In our house is a sign that my wife Kathleen, here today, brought from her parents' house. The sign says, "No act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted." If you can maintain your focus on kindness, if you can develop into a set of well-used neural pathways through plasticity, you can have an almost magical impact on the people around us. Eagles might be able to spot a dime from a kilometer, dogs can sense a deer in the fog, but we are built for amazing feats of support, caring, and kindness. As you go forward in your careers and your lives, I hope you'll appreciate and extend your own amazing abilities. Those will be, like today, your resume virtues. Pursue your careers with enthusiasm and celebrate with pride your accomplishments, some of which may make headlines. But way more important, use your compassionate gifts to their full advantage. Be kind. The times when you do, especially when you could have behaved otherwise, will be the times that stay with you and perhaps with the people that you touched. Moments like that remain with us forever, unlike possibly, for example, convocation speeches. If you remember one idea from this speech tomorrow, I'll consider it one of the great resume triumphs of my career. Congratulations and thank you.